Welcome to the Legal Insight podcast by HHQ. My name is Zach, and today we're diving into a crucial topic that's been making waves in the tech and legal worlds. Now, that is the EU AI Act and its prohibited practices. I'm joined by two distinguished experts from our technology practice group, Johnson, who heads the group, and Khai, who serves as the co-head of the group. Gentlemen, thank you for being here today again.
Thanks for having us.
Now, Khai, let me start with you. As someone who's deeply involved with tech law, what is your initial take on the concept of prohibited AI practices? Because that's a big word. Do you see this as a necessary step in regulation, or is it too restrictive?
Thank you for the question, Zach. I don't see the concept of prohibited AI practices as too restrictive. Well, its intention is to restrict, of course, but I think if we look at the bigger picture, right, the EU AI Act as a whole, prohibited AI practices is only one part of the regulation, right? And it is there because, as we have previously unpacked in our last episode, EU AI Act takes a risk-based approach. It categorizes AI into different categories based on the risk that they pose. If the risk is really high, then that falls under the prohibited AI category, right? So of course, these prohibited AI, if we allow their deployment, it will really cause a lot of unnecessary harm and a lot of disruptions, a lot of prejudice in a sense to the society at large, and hence why I see it not so much as a roadblock, but rather a guardrail to make sure that companies who are developing AI, they maintain an ethical development. Mm-hmm. They develop their AI consciously, with conscience and with good conscience, and also with ethics in mind.
Now, there's been some debate in the legal community, or rather the tech community especially, about whether AI practices should be prohibited at all. Some argue that it will stifle innovation. Now, what's your take on this?
Well, Zach, that's a very good question. While I actually understand the concerns about innovations, but one thing that we all would need to recognize is that not all innovations are beneficial to the society. By reading the law itself, by analyzing the EU AI Act, actually those prohibitions are not unreasonable. Let's just think it this way. When we are talking about pharmaceutical, when we are talking about the construction practices, there's always safety parameter. So when we are talking about AI development, when we are talking about AI practices, that they should also implement similar safety parameters as well. So right now, looking at the law, the prohibitions, they are not there to actually stop innovations. They are really there, as mentioned by Khai just now. It's a guideline, it's a parameter for them to really safeguard the society. It's really to ensure that AI practices, they will actually cause significant harm, cause significant risk to the society, to the individuals with prohibited, while ensuring that innovations of ethical AI development will continue.
Now, those are compelling points. The EU AI Act actually outlines 8 categories of prohibited AI practices. Mm-hmm. And we don't have time to cover all of them today, but I like to focus on some of the most crucial ones. Johnson, let's start with you again. Can you explain what manipulative AI systems are and why are they prohibited?
So in layman terms, in simple terms, manipulative AI system is actually referring to AI system that deploys subliminal, deceptive, or even manipulative tactic to really distort a human ability in making informed decisions. So let us just use gaming as an example. So one of the key revenue for gaming companies is to sell in-game products, in-game items, something that Khai is very familiar with. So in order for them to actually encourage their user, their consumer, their client to actually purchase in-game items, they will just use very normal marketing tactic, such as promoting by saying that if you purchase this item, this will actually enhance your gaming experience. You will find the game more enjoyable. But if the gaming company, they actually employ manipulative AI system, what is going to happen is potentially they will be using virtual reality to really take advantage of you, to really distort your ability by impairing your ability of making informed decisions. And then with the case, without you knowing, you will be manipulated by AI system to be purchasing those in-game items. And this will actually cause you to suffer, as we all know, financial harms. This is why a lot of gamers, without knowing why, they actually keep spending more money And this become a habit that they are not able to come up from. One of the key reasons because a lot of gaming companies, they behind the scenes, they are actually deploying and they are actually using manipulative AI system to actually manipulate the gamers so that their ability to make informed decisions will be distorted. So as we all can tell, the danger that manipulative AI system will cause to either individual or society as a whole, as this will really cause them to suffer significant harms.
Yep.
Now, Khai, let's move on to exploitative AI systems. What's the difference between exploitative and manipulative systems, and why are they also prohibited?
Yeah, so exploitative and manipulative AI systems, certainly they do overlap to some extent, right? One manipulates people into doing certain things. And exploitative AI systems, on the other hand, it identifies groups of individuals or groups of people who are already under certain sets of vulnerabilities potentially due to their age, due to their disability, or due to their socio-economic status or standing, right? And these AI systems, they target on all these vulnerabilities of these individuals to make them, because due to their vulnerabilities, naturally they are more prone to making certain actions. Say, for example, a gambling addict, right? He is more prone to potentially want to take up more loans to get more liquidity so that they can spend it on gambling. Kids who are really engrossed in computer games, for example, they would want to maybe get an in-game item that Johnson mentioned just now, and they wouldn't mind, say, giving out their pictures, sensitive pictures of their own body, for example, and then those will get turned into child sexual abuse material or child sexual materials. So this is why these sort of exploitative AI systems, where it predates, or rather it targets vulnerable groups of people, it's very dangerous, because these group of people, due to their vulnerabilities, they are just so much more prone to doing certain things that will cause themselves harm, or maybe cause harm to other people.
That sounds almost dystopian. Now, as I understand it, AI systems are tools that actually make certain processes extremely effective, extremely efficient. So what you've described there, like a gambling addict spending more money, or a child spending their parents' money on certain in-game items, I think this is not a new thing. It is not particularly isolated to AI systems. I think people are already employing manipulative tactics or marketing, scams and stuff like that.
Yeah.
These are prohibited because AI systems will make them extremely dangerous.
So the thing about AI, I would say that the notion of AI is to really enhance humans, is to increase efficiency of our productivity, is to really make human better. And yet, certain innovation of AI, they are actually there to manipulate human. They are there to take your advantage. So this is why, as we mentioned earlier, not all innovations are built equal. Not all innovations, we will say that it's actually beneficial to the society, to individual. And if the certain innovation is actually built for the wrong intention, or even is built with the right intention, but it falls under the wrong hands of the wrong group of people, they will use it to manipulate you. They will use it to take your advantage. So this is why there are certain groups, there are actually 8 specific groups of AI practices are strictly prohibited by the EU AI Act, because they deem these practices to be extremely, extremely dangerous. You are not the one using this AI system. In fact, you wouldn't even know that this AI system, they are there to manipulate you. They are there to determine your future. You have no clue at all.
Yeah, and I think to add on to what you just said, Zach, you made a very, very good point. Addictions, all these issues, right? So-called the vulnerabilities in people, whether it's an addictions to gambling, addictions to computer games, or even pornographic addictions, right? All these things are, before AI was introduced, they are already there. But why is AI then being targeted? It's because prior to this, assuming that I want to set up scamming operations, I need to employ people, right? Manual labor to go and target those vulnerable people one by one manually. There's cost involved, right? There's overhead. But with AI essentially is to mimic humans' behavior. So if a scammer, a group of scammer, a syndicate, they can deploy AI, they don't need so many people to run their operations. They only need one potentially. So
Right.
that will really make it easier and will really promulgate, or rather, again, make it easier for all these operations to run.
Now let's move on to the third aspect of the prohibited AI systems. It is social scoring AI systems. That sounds something out of a Black Mirror episode, right? What exactly are we talking about here when we say social scoring?
So social scoring system, as we can tell from the definitions, is very clear. Basically, you analyze your social behavior and they will judge you accordingly. So based on your background, your education, your skin color, your address, your shopping habit, your showering habit, basically they are just there to make a recommendation, to make predictions of you really based on your social behavior. And unfortunately, this social scoring AI system is becoming so common in many countries, in many companies, and in many society. And as we can tell, whenever any company or any country, if they allow social scoring AI system, this may potentially lead to biased result or unfavorable treatment to any individual. Let's use bank. For example, we all would require a bank loan in order for us to purchase a house, to purchase a car, or to purchase a land. So if a bank, they actually deployed social scoring AI system in order for them to approve your loan by taking factors that are not relevant to your actual ability to repay the loan, such as your address, your parents' education, your skin color. This may actually unfairly judge your ability in order for you to actually obtain a loan or not. And this is why it's actually extremely unfair, and this will really prejudice one individual against the other.
I think there is actually a Black Mirror episode on that. Now, Khai, can you tell us about risk assessment profiling AI systems and what makes these problematic enough to be prohibited?
When it comes to risk assessment profiling AI system, this is a very sensitive area. Essentially, the AI systems are the ones that may potentially be used by law enforcement agency to assess the likelihood of an individual, a particular individual, in committing crime. We're not even saying the AI system is being used to judge whether this person has committed crime already or not. It's not based on facts, but rather just purely based on the past history of the individual. Perhaps how many times has this person been convicted?
Yep.
What is the social background of this person? Is this person maybe coming from a family, a single parent family, or
even your appearance, such as when you're wearing
Correct.
skinny jeans, chances are you're going to commit crime.
correct, or whether you smoke or not,
Yeah.
whether you what is the color of your skin tone, right? Based on all these things, that's really baseless to formulate an outcome or a predictions on whether what is likelihood of you committing crime. So this kind of AI system, really, if you ask me, it breaches the fundamental of human rights, right? And it breaches the presumptions of innocence that most, or if not all, legal system highly upholds. And we do know that AI system ultimately hallucinates as well. And the data that is being used to train the AI system differ. It may have certain prejudice, right? It may actually tell the user itself to say that if a person lives in this particular area, that is a rural area, or maybe an area that is poorer area, then the likelihood of that person committing crime is higher. So it would have that kind of prejudice. It would have that kind of bias. So ultimately, if a law enforcement agency were to rely on the tool blindlessly, it will cause a lot of wrongful arrest. It will really prejudice the freedom of a lot of people.
Facial recognition databases, AI systems, are also prohibited. I thought facial recognition systems are quite common. Can you explain the rationale behind this prohibition?
Yes, Zach. So I think that this has to do with a concern towards privacy and also surveillance, especially in this digital age. So this, they call it a facial recognition database AI system, is not just there to scan your face. It's actually more than that. So the law itself actually prohibits the facial recognition database. That what they do is they actually will scrap the internet. They will actually scrap the CCTV footage untargetedly to just create a database in order for them to store those images. So just think about that. Knowing that you are just walking down the street, and what happened is your face, your facial image will be captured without you knowing, And on top of that, they capture it, they build a database, and they are going to process and they'll use it for reasons that you are not aware of. So the law itself, they actually prohibit companies or AI systems or AI companies, they actually build this database, because this is actually more than just privacy. It really goes down to your fundamental right. Whether are you able to walk down the street without constant surveillance, without every single CCTV or the internet trying to just capture you and to create a database just to store your face and your facial image. So we all can tell the reasoning behind. It's more than just them having a CCTV, but to create this huge database to store thousands or even millions of facial image of everyone on Earth.
I think you can do that without CCTV. I think you can just go into Instagram and like scrap data off.
Correct.
Yeah.
I think that there's a danger. So basically, they do not want an AI system. What they do is they go through every single Instagram account, and then what they do is they just scrap every single image. They create this database. What they do is, because the data that they have is extremely valuable, they can sell it to a wrong party, and you will have no idea how are they going to use your image for the wrong reasons. So there is the AI practices that the law is prohibiting.
Now, this is why I only post pictures of food on my Instagram. Now, Khai, let's talk about biometric categorization AI systems. Big word there. What does it mean, and what are the specific concerns here?
First of all, Zach, I think we need to be extremely clear here. The use of AI to categorize or to sort out biometric informations of individuals or group of individuals, that's okay if it's just limited to sorting.
Yep.
But rather, what the EU AI Act is trying to prohibit or is looking to prohibit is the use of AI systems to analyze biometric information and then use those results of analysis to make certain deductions, to deduce or to infer some sensitive personal information or some sensitive information of a particular individuals. Say, for example, to deduce or infer a person's race from the person's thumbprint, right? Or the height of an individual, the eye color, those sort of things, right? To infer race, political opinions, trade union membership, religion, sex life or sexual orientations, right? So in a sense, it is very similar to using AI system to make really, really educated guess of all those sensitive information about a person. It may well be true. Also, of course, it may well be false. So I think it again breaches fundamental human rights of individuals, and at the same time, it also borderline touches or rather infringes upon the personal data protection law of each countries, right? So all this, essentially all this information that is being deduced or inferred, they are, almost all of them are categorized as sensitive personal data or sensitive personal identifiable informations. And to process and to collect all these informations, you actually need express and explicit consent. So if I can just make deductions or make inference based on other collected biometric data of yourself, then technically I am bypassing all those explicit consent requirements. So, which is, again, it infringes upon the fundamental human rights of individuals. I wouldn't naturally want my political opinions or whether I'm part of a trade union or not, right? All these informations to be made known to the public. If you want to know about it, I need to make an informed decisions on whether or not I want to tell you. If you can just make deductions through AI system on all those things about me, I think that's very, very scary.
Yeah, and then the key thing is about the deduction. It may not be accurate. So for example, if a company, they employed this sort of particular system, let's say a company that has a policy that they actually somewhat against membership of unions. And then just by having your fingerprint and then the stupid AI system, they actually make a deduction, say that you may potentially be part of this union membership. And then with that, they reject your application. So you can tell that even though you may not be part of this membership, but because of this AI system, the company just rely on the prediction, rely on the decision, and then reject you. Just because the AI system thinks that looking at your fingerprint, you may be a member, and then they reject you. This will actually cause unfair judgment against you.
Now I understand why the act is so thick, right? It's 144 pages long. I think even like for biometric categorization, there are companies out there just taking your DNA, and then making deductions of it. Of course, not of sensitive information.
Yep.
Maybe they can deduce some health condition or potential aging situations that you might have. Now, giving all these data to these kind of companies, I'm a bit more wary now. I don't know.
Because you have no idea how they're actually processing the data. Because after all, you actually grant them the permission to process your data. The key thing is they may be using this data by pumping into the wrong AI system.
Yep.
And then the wrong AI system, they may be processing by making certain deduction. The key thing is the deduction, whether it's right or wrong, they may be used against you, such as your employment, your loan applications, your kids' admission to university. This will actually affect your future without you knowing.
Now my mind is at rest knowing that there's a legislation that is behemoth enough to fight this abuse. Now we're nearing the end of our time. I want to address two critical points. We've addressed it briefly in the previous episode, but today let's dive in deeper. I want to know, Johnson, what are the consequences for companies that don't comply with the Act or these prohibitions?
So Zach, you are right. So the EU law, they are really taking this prohibition very seriously. So in the event of violations, the penalty will be extremely severe. So the company potentially they are actually facing a penalty of 35 million euro. And then I actually make a conversion earlier this morning thanks to stronger ringgit. So if we actually make a conversion, we are actually looking at roughly 164 million penalty in the event you actually breach this one of these type of 8 AI practices, or otherwise they will be imposing financial penalty against the company, which will amount to 7% of the global annual turnover, whichever is higher. So I think the message is very clear. The EU law, they want to make sure any company they are providing, they are deploying any AI systems or any AI model, especially within their territory, they have to make sure that you will stop providing, stop using, stop manufacturing any of these type of prohibited AI practices.
Thanks, Johnson. Now, finally, Khai, what should companies be doing in anticipation of these regulations?
So Zach, to help companies, they should take a proactive approach, knowing that the EU AI Act, the chapter on prohibited AI practices, is going to be implemented early next year. Do a self-assessment and find out whether the AI systems that the company currently has, whether it falls within the 8 categories of prohibited AI or not. It is not just about compliance, it is also about setting a good business practices. So second, assuming that the AI systems that a company has really do indeed fall under the 8 prohibited AI categories, you should then come up with a compliance strategy. Since it's prohibited, so you will then have to stop continue developing these AI systems, right? Or potentially, if you want to continue to develop it or continue to maintain it and commercialize it, then what you may have to look at is potentially looking to steer clear from the EU market altogether. It's not just about not setting up a business presence there and provide offerings there, but also, assuming you don't go into EU at all, you need to also not take EU customers, or you need to also make sure that the output of your AI systems do not flow or be transmitted or be transferred and be used in a European Union member states, because all this would then bring you and your AI systems under the regulations of the EU AI Act. So ultimately, we don't expect companies themselves to have the to be able to maneuver the EU AI Act on their own. So it is very crucial and it's very important to seek expert legal help and legal advice, right? Johnson and myself, we are constantly advising and training and educating companies, even here in Malaysia, right, about the implications of EU AI Act. So certainly, I think rope in the help of external legal counsels who are really familiar with this territory, who are really familiar with the EU AI Act, to partner with you to go through this compliance assessment or to go through this chapter.
Thanks, Johnson and Khai. This is all the time we have for the discussion on the EU AI Act for episodes 11 and 12. Thank you so much for the valuable insights.